So we're ready to begin our masterclass for today. It's the first live streaming of Pitching Lab 2020, and I want to introduce you, Mr. Sami Arpa, who is going to begin our session from short films to a tool that can democratize the movies in the world. So as we are in the country of democracy, you're welcome, Sami. You can start your masterclass.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Barbara, for introduction. I will just share my screen and start my presentation. I think I am disabled to screen sharing. Could you please enable me for that? Oh yeah, I can do now. Okay. So I assume you are seeing my screen, and then I am going forward. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you very much for organizing this session. Very happy to be in the festival, even though it's online way. So in this talk, I will talk about our journey from a short film platform, Sophie TV, to some artificial intelligence tools that we have created for the movie industry, which can bring a way to democratize the movie industry. And we are based in Lausanne, Switzerland. Our company startup is now almost 3 years old. And the way we have started was with a problem that we saw in a short film industry. I am myself a scientist professionally, but I've been also a filmmaker, produced, directed my own short films. One thing with my short films that I saw was the difficulty in short film industry to get recognition and also to bring your films to the audience, even you make really great films. And this was one of the things that actually pushed us to make more research about on short film industry. And here you see two important figures that we have identified in 2017. We saw 70% of really good quality of short films. They are not distributed online. They are not accessible to the audience. And yet 19% of Western audience actually in somehow they like to watch short films. They are engaged with short films. So these two figures were a bit contradictory for us. I will give a bit more details on the figures. So if we go to content provider site, so again, one analysis we did in 2017. So what we did, we got some festival, some jury evaluations from two partner festivals. So with more than 3,000 films, we made this, more than 3,000 short films, we made these evaluations. So we got the jury ratings for these films from these festivals. Basically, these films were submitted to these festivals to be selected in the festival. And then we normalized these jury ratings so that they are all between 0 and 10. And after that, we checked what happened to these films after they have submitted their films to the festivals, and 2 years after these submissions, what happened to these films in terms of distribution being accessible to the audience. So we have recognized majority of the films which have been rated between 0 and 6, they have ended up in YouTube and Vimeo as free, completely accessible to the audience. And then very few of these films have been in big platforms like Netflix, Amazon, iTunes. But these are the ones who had really big visibility, like if they have won really big awards like Palme d'Or in Cannes or Oscar. But then the rest of these, the ones had a good rating, between 6 and 10. They were not accessible to the audience. We couldn't reach them in any way to be able to watch them. So the only way is you have to a producer, director. Maybe they ask you to pay certain fees so that you can have access to the film. So this is an interesting problem. So it really shows good quality short films. Majority of them are not accessible to the audience. There are many short film focused platforms, but in the case of these platforms, especially for the time of 2018, 2 years ago, they were very exclusive. They really make a high level curation for specific type of content or for specific festival, which prevents to have a big cluster of short films altogether. And if you look the audience side, maybe, majority of the people think, nobody watch short films. So this thing we also made a bit research. Who is the short film audience in common public? What is the share of the short film audience? So in our search, we found that 6% of audience, the common audience, watch short films more than once a week, which is a very strong engagement. And then yet 13% of the common audience, they still watch short film more than once a month. So there are 40% who never watch and 41% maybe like once a year. But so this 6%, we took like a regular film viewers in the world as like 500 million people. From that, if we look at this 6%, it corresponds to 30 million people who are really engaged to short films, who are watching regularly short films, which is, although it is niche, still is a big audience. And if we add also this 13% who watch seldomly more than once a month, it's 19%, 95 million audience. So we have many good quality short films, and we have actually a big audience. And actually, we should create the opportunity to meet these two parts. That was for us the motivation to create Sophie TV. And just here, one more thing about this audience thing. If you look at our search on the Western world, this is quite similar. This shows the people who watch short films regularly in these different countries. In United States, it's 6.5, 5.6 in Canada, UK 6.3, France 5.1, Switzerland 5. So it is very, very similar, these behaviors as well, always between 5 to 7%. So yeah, then we launched our short film platform in May 2018, Sophie.tv. Again, for that goal to bring in different type of short films, not making it really exclusive only for specific team or specific festivals, but make it really open. We still have a level of curation. Still, they are going into a basic check by our curators, but we try to get many different type of short films from different countries, from different genres, different festivals. Now, as of now, we have like 1,400 short films on the catalog from many different festivals, many different genres. But then, we come to the point of how to engage these short films to the audience. Because if you put just 1,500 short films in front of the audience, they will have the problem of finding the films that they would like, which is a problem in general for the video on demand platforms like Netflix, Amazon. But for the case of them, maybe it will be more, we will talk about a less volume of the content. I mean, 1,400 maybe is not too much as well, but for the Sophie TV, I think we imagine, I mean, a much bigger catalog considering the amount of shorts around the world. Yeah, again, it becomes really, really important to show right content to the right audience to be able to keep them watching short films. So for that reason, we made quite big investment in the technology side of this platform. And which is, my background, scientific background is on that as well, understanding content, visuals, and then connect them with the certain semantics. So what we did, we tried to answer this question: can we find the recipes, the main ingredients of the content from their scripts or the video version itself? And one of the initial technology that we developed was to understand how the genres of the content changing over the story. For example, if you get a script of a film, how the level of action is changing from start to end. Or same thing for adventure, comedy, sci-fi, thriller. So this gives an idea about cinematographic tone of the film. Here you see the example, the graphs on the bottom. It shows how different genres are evolving through story. And we can do this both from script, but also the video edition of the film. So here you see again that these different colors at the bottom of the video shows the different genres. For example, red is comedy, orange is action. The system automatically identifies what is the signal from these different genres and how much for each scene of the content, how much comedy, romance, drama, adventure, these things are existing. This is one level of ingredients of the content. It tells a lot of things about the content without even looking at that. And these are all achieved thanks to artificial intelligence. So basically, we train the systems to learn what is comedy, what is action, what is romance from previous films. Just for the video example, for example, you show a lot of romance examples, then it starts to understand what kind of patterns are related to romance, both checking the visual elements and also audio elements. And then yet we have also created some other technologies to further identify the other elements of the content. The one other thing is this that you see on the screen, we call genome of the content. So basically, you put the content, we have 1,000 attributes. The system finds its relevance to each attribute, how much it's relevant to this attribute. And these attributes are the attributes that are mostly associated with the films by the audience. So this way, actually, you have an initial idea about what will be the potential connection of the audience in terms of these attributes with the film. So our goal is for making all this is to understand the content in Sophie TV and also understand the audience to make a really sophisticated recommendation system, so that audience really finds the films they like and watch the films they like. But I mean, one thing we have realized, we can tell much more things to the movie industry with these technologies. And actually, we have realized that actually with the requests from film industry, not only for short film market, we have seen the producers, distributors who are seeing these tools, they were asking if they have a chance to use these because they can see a lot of insights about the content. So that showed us another direction as well, that actually we can use these technologies in much more widespread way. I will show you now a bit how, but let me show you one example for the potential of these technologies. For example, here you see these genre graphs of two different films. I didn't put the name of the films. Let's say film A at the top and film B at the bottom. So as you can see, each color represents a different genre. So like blue is drama, pink is romance, red is comedy. You see the film A is mostly drama. You have some romance, and then you see how it's changing. Actually, these up and downs. It shows if any of these elements are increasing, decreasing through the story. And both of these are generated scripts of these films. So I will show you in a bit what these films are. But yeah, I want you maybe to think just from your side. I will give you some information about this film so that you can guess just by looking at these patterns which film can be which one. So for the film A, the film was nominated in Palme d'Or, nominated in Oscar. And then in terms of the revenues, box office revenues, it made $7 million. And film B, it has some nominations in the festivals as well, but not Palme d'Or and Oscar, I think. But in terms of revenue, it made $420 million. Yeah, please make your guess. So film B made $420 million, film A made $7 million. Just looking at this graph, just make your guess. I will just reveal it in the next slide. But it's just an exercise to see, what the data can show us, because we have not looked at the film, we didn't read the script, we don't know anything about the film except these graphs. Okay, so here you see which film is what on the right side. Sorry, actually it doesn't show. I should tell. It shows the revenues. Let me check if I have. No, I don't have the titles here, but let me tell you. So film A was Deux Jours, Une Nuit, Two Nights, One Day by Dardenne Brothers. It's, as I said, it made 7 million euros gross box office, and it was nominated in Oscar and Cannes. And film B was Untouchable, Intouchables, I think in English. So it made 426 million euros, and then nominations Golden Globe and Caesar. So here the interesting things with the data part. So in general, in our test, most of people know this correctly. They tell film B. I don't know what you have thought, but the reason you can guess, you can see the pacing of the film from these patterns. You can see in film B, we have quite up and down, some peaks, really cinematographic, the tone of cinematography is changing. So the graph is showing a lot of strong plot points, which is important once it comes to commercial film, to keep the audience attention. We can tell in film A, although artistic way is very valuable, it's really great film, but we can tell already the audience will sleep once it comes here. You see that at section 10. So this actually shows, it's just one aspect. You can do many things with the different graphs that we are producing with artificial intelligence. You can have a lot of insights about the future of the film at very early stages. As I said, this has been generated from the scripts. So you can see actually what will be the potential revenue, what will be the future of the film, just looking at the graphs. And then we think usage of this AI, artificial intelligence, can especially bring big value to European film industry, and it can help a bit further for democratization to the industry. Just most of you aware of that, but just looking at with the numbers in terms of the distribution of the box office revenue between Hollywood films and European films. So in US, in 2018, there was 1.2 billion admission to the movie theaters. And 80% of this admission, it goes to Hollywood films. and then only 20% goes to European films. And once we come to Europe, so this is again similar. So like 80%, close to 80% of the admissions still goes to Hollywood films. Although it's Europe, only like 20% comes to the European local audience. So 80%, to Hollywood, and 20% stays with European local productions. That's very interesting because this shows something very clear. The revenue-wise, the European market doesn't support this way European films itself. That's why it's really dependent on subsidies, as most of the revenue goes to Hollywood productions. And if you look at this like a country basis, for example, in Spain, like if you look at top 10 films in the box office every week, if you look at the average of that in 2019, 75% are Hollywood films. So France is a bit better in that. Their local films is 38%, which makes the industry more powerful as they can generate revenue without being just depending on subsidy. They can create their own content. For the big countries, again, if you look at Germany, it's only 13% local films at top 10 in average. And in smaller countries like Switzerland and Greece, it's getting close to zero. You hardly get a local film in top 10. Again, the share of the US films is 88%. So here, one thing, again, we can look at also in terms of the volume of the films. So it's not like there is less film produced in Europe. Still, per capita production is less than US, but still a lot of films are produced. So 1,500 films are produced in Europe as long metrage, and 1,800 films produced in US as long metrage feature film. And in average, 1.3 million euros is spent per film for European films, and 4.4 million euros per film is spent for American films. So here, one problem, there's a huge domination of US films in overall market, and then there is no return of to European films, even from the European market. And one reason for that, US has certain recipes of the films. They repeat over that, and then they know actually they can just get European audience by repeating these recipes, which is a problem also for the variety of the content. So what we think by using artificial intelligence, so it doesn't tell which recipe is going to work. It shows the potential of your own recipe, but it can also open many other recipes that can be successful. It can open the doors for this kind of films, because at this moment there are some decision makers. They only think the certain recipes of the films will work, and they don't look at even other kind of recipes as well. They don't want to take risks. But if you can show with the AI, with some scientific basis, some other recipes are working as well, that could open the opportunities to many different stakeholders in the industry as well. Not only certain names, not only certain studios, but many different production houses and the directors. They can find their way as well if they create a valuable content. So by seeing these opportunities that we can bring with these tools to the industry, so we created another tool. This is called Largo.ai. And the idea of this platform basically to provide insights to the producers, distributors, screenwriters. So you put your content, it automatically gives a lot of insight about what is the ingredients of your content, what is the relationships of the characters, what is the potential cast, what is similar films on this content, and what will be its financial implication. So you can see all of these things in a very instant way. by inputting to the system the script or the video version of the film. So just look at a few other examples. I mean, again, I will go with the genre analysis. For example, if you look at some cult Hollywood films, just looking at this graph for Shawshank Redemption, you can see there's a very strong entrance. So the things have been built around the crime and thriller theme, and a puzzle has been created from the start of the film, and then the film continues over that. Or we go another example. So here for another Hollywood cult film, Fight Club. So here we see the same effect at the end of the film. So the film is slowly building over certain puzzles, but then many things are happening, revealed also at the end of the film. So we have a very strong end that action, thriller, and crime patterns are really strongly increasing. Let's go to a completely art house film. The blue is warmest color. It's a Palme d'Or winner from Cannes. And then here you see a ritual. This is actually, we can see in many times in art house films in their patterns. So as I showed you the example of Dardenne Brothers, De Jour et Nuit, it was an art house film, but the patterns was constant. Here it's not constant. We have up and downs, but still we have a ritual. This up and down is a bit in a synchronization, which is actually the fight of Adele inside the film with these emotions. We go this up and down. So actually, this provides also such tools and a lab for the producers, because you get the patterns of your content, and then you can go and check with all these previous films. I mean, what kind of patterns, ingredients they have built in their storytelling to have an idea from that and make a comparison with your content to see where it is going. And then, let's go maybe some with specific examples. For the film Pain and Glory, here you see the patterns on the top right side. It's genre patterns. And on the bottom, we also see its age suitability pattern. Its system also measures automatically for each scene of the film its age suitability and interest. It measures this. And then we have the genome of the film. It finds automatically the attributes that could be most relevant for the films, that could be associated with the audience to the film. So by using all these patterns, and then we also get certain metadata about the film. For example, the budget of this film is $10 million. So with these patterns, if you put $10 million in the film, what's going to happen? So the system can predict its potential revenue. And actually, it's one of the films, it's really right on the spot. It's very successful in the prediction. It predicts, for example, Spanish box office for this film to be $6.5 million by getting all these inputs, which is, if I go back, its Spanish box office was really close to that. It was $6.4 million. Or if you look at a Hollywood example, the film Ali, which was a box office flop. This was an historical analysis that we did to understand also why the film has been a flop. So again, the system is finding its patterns. You see on top of it's a very Hollywood style pattern. You can see these plot points, and it's the genome. You see the courage, mentor, freedom, based on true stories, some attributes that is automatically found from the script of the films for this film. And then it predicts its domestic revenue as 40.6 million, most expected revenue. In reality, it was 58, which is very close. But actually, if the producer, since this is very commercial films, if they have seen such domestic revenue really in advance, they would hardly greenlight this film because their goal is to get the commercial return. But the interesting thing also, we can see what was the problem with this film. why it has failed. It has a very big budget, very big investment, $107 million inside the film. So one of the problems that the system finds is the big mismatch between the actors and the characters. So what our system does, basically, once you put the script inside the system, it finds a DNA of the character. And same way we have created the DNA of many actors with their experiences and then how the audience has been associated them with certain attributes. So this way it finds a score, a match score between the character and the actor. So for top 3 characters, these scores are very low actually for this film. It's 61, 68, 68. And I can tell, in our experiences with many previous films, if the scores gets really low, around 60%, the chance film to fail is significantly increasing. That's, of course, not only reason, but one of the reason pushing this film to go on a flopping side. I think I am coming to the end of my presentation, but I can talk about just this aspect of artificial intelligence because it might be looking a bit scary for the creative industry. So do we want a robot to write and develop our films? So in that regard, actually, the question comes to that, how we want to use artificial intelligence as a tool for data-driven movie making or data-assisted movie making. So there's a huge difference. If data-driven movie making, it means AI will tell you what to do, what kind of film to develop, what should be the next step. And then, this actually can put us in the direction of losing the creative freedom. But the way we approach to this problem, the using AI, and that's what we believe in as well, is data-assisted movie making, providing this as a tool. So the AI doesn't tell you what content to create, but once you put your content, it tells about what is the ingredients, what is its potential direction, but then it's up to you to make the creative decisions. You just see the insights about the content. And in that manner, it becomes like a magnifier. Because as a human being, we are limited. The way AI can bring these insights by learning thousands of previous films. Of course, once we have our evaluation of a film as well, we think in the context of some previous films as well, but this is very limited and we look from our own perspective. So in that way, AI brings many other insights, and then again, you can see maybe you have a chance to look at your content from a different perspective, but again, it's you to make the next step, the creative decision, how to shape the film, how to do casting, how to improve the story, and then how to release the film. And I think that is the end of my presentation. Thank you. And Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you, Sami. That's very interesting. Hang on, because I can't see you. These are the issues of technology. Just to tell our participants, to ask our participants, they can type in questions at the moment if they have any questions. But to kick off the Q&A session, before we talk about the AI solution, regarding Sophie TV, how does one, if you're an individual filmmaker and you would like to see your film on Sophie TV, what is the process?
Yeah, for the filmmakers, anybody can apply to put their film on Sophie TV, which goes to curators, they check, and then once it's fine, we make the contract and then go forward. For the audience, we have at this moment subscription or rental business model. Mm-hmm. So they either can subscribe or rent the films, but we add some additional, I can give an early news from here. we have an additional model to that. As of October 26, Sophie TV will be launched on Samsung TVs in starting with 8 countries: UK, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, France, Italy, and Spain, which will come as a default channel on all Samsung TVs for like almost, it means like 18 million audience. So for this form, it will be actually free with advertisement model. So the audience can directly open their TVs and then watch Samsung TV.
Oh, wow.
Which makes our these 3 business model actually: subscription, rental, and also advertisement now on the TV. But we believe the penetration to much wider audience, we will be much stronger after the launch in October 26 with Samsung.
Mm-hmm. And just another question: during COVID and lockdown, did you see a spike in consumption and interest?
Yeah, absolutely. For COVID time, especially initial 2-3 months, I think consumption tripled.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in terms of new users, I think we had 3x, 4x more audience coming than regular time. So the speed has started to reduce in that manner, but definitely, especially from April to July, there was really a significant increase.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Barbara, do you want to? We have to unmute you.
We cannot hear, Barbara.
Oh, interesting. I think she needs to.
Okay.
Okay, now she's all right.
So thank you, Sami, for all these very useful informations. And I see if everyone is online now on the platform to make probably some questions. I don't see the other ones. Participants. Τους έχουμε, μπορούμε να κάνουμε ερωτήσεις. Αντώνης. I don't know what's happening.
So question, Sami, from me again. How has the going to your script analysis software and the use of AI, obviously I can understand producers and financiers being very, very happy because obviously, as you mentioned, in the back of their mind, their main aim is to maximize revenues. What about the creator perspective? What has been your personal experience from creators? And I know you set up the dilemma of, are we reaching a point where robots or a piece of software is going to approve or disapprove or rewrite, if you like, up to a certain point, my script? How have creators reacted generally to this idea?
Yeah, I mean, creators, if they have not heard about us, I mean, if we don't tell actually what it is doing, they are a bit defensive in that. But once we explain, we show the tools, so we have seen a quite positive response. And actually, we have many independent producers that are working with us who don't target primarily a financial return. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, I think like 80% of our tools is just giving insights about the content, not just financial part. And I mean, with that, they get a chance to discover their content from different perspectives, and then they can go, even they target festivals and other things, compare with other kind of films, the films from this festival, it gives them some direction. in that manner, I wouldn't tell it would, of course, replace a script doctoring, but a script doctor, once they read, and they also provide some points, some other things. And here as well, with these patterns, you can see really some interesting facts about your content. And if you see these early enough, you can push maybe your efforts in the development of the content in the right direction.
How effective would it be for a short movie? I can understand a feature film, regardless of genre, and picking up patterns and sort of correlating, if you like, as you said, the genome or the recipe of a script. And obviously, it's not a panacea and it's not going to answer all questions. How would AI or Largo at the moment cope with a short script? Because obviously there's less time, if you like, to develop action or to define, in effect, within 16, 20 pages what the outcome will be. And of course, short films can also be very, very experimental, can be quirky, can be all sorts of things. How can AI be useful for that? Especially because we're at a short film festival.
Yeah, absolutely. For short films, I mean, of course, the challenge is higher because you have much shorter time, and then you need to create an impact within shorter time. For festivals or for audience, it might be different costs, but yeah, again, you want to create an impact. So, I mean, just to let you know, for example, AI we can use for different type of storytelling. For example, we use for advertisements as well, which is completely commercial focus. But again, there's a narrative, and then it's even shorter. Okay, they want to tell some narrative in 30 seconds, in 1 minute. So same thing here for short films is longer duration, and then again, yeah, you can see these ingredients of your content again have the same idea of what these patterns are telling about your content. Not for commercial part, but again for the storytelling. And actually, as I mentioned, we started all of these tools from the short films. I mean, because our goal is to show right content to the right audience and then analyze short films. And then actually some base of learning of these tools is coming from short films. Short films is a good value in that. For short films, the only problem for using such AI tools is the cost part, because these AI tools is really costly for us. I mean, to provide this as a service, there's a lot of effort. So for us, the main question is that at this moment, because the AI part, we don't provide as a service for directed short films at this moment. We have customers who comes with short films with the goal of making it feature films, but not just for short films, because there is cost aspect.
Of course.
So but what we think this as a future milestone, I mean, to really reduce the cost of this as much as possible and put a form that could be really useful for even short film makers, and then open for this segment as well. But this again, some future milestone for us. Yeah, we need to reduce the cost and then make it available this way.
There are some questions in the chat. If you want stuff is delivered to Sami, if you cannot see.
Yes. The first question, I think, is a cheeky question, and I think it's a very relevant question, and it's from one of our participants in the pitching lab. So when someone submits a film for Sophie TV, do you actually pass this through AI to determine whether it's worthy for the platform to be included in the platform? Or do you have a human curator?
It's combined, I mean, to speak frankly. So we have both AI curation, mostly human curation. So AI just provides some insights to the curator, but then curators goes and still watch the film. And I can tell the AI insights don't impact the accept or reject the film at this stage. AI just gives insights to the curator in terms of also how to label this film. For example, for age rating, if it's plus 18, 15, these things in terms of the genre distribution, because we create programs, we group the films into certain programs. So it helps the curators to put the films in the right place. But then the curators is having the final say to accept, reject the film.
Okay. And another question which relates to VR movies, and I'm not sure if you can answer this or if you've researched, and I'll ask the question, I'll read the question because it's quite long. In terms of possibility, is it more likely that we will watch more short films in VR rather than feature films in the near future because of many issues like budget, health issues? I mean, and I'm reading the question, this time one can stay in VR, etc. Do you have any statistical study about the rate of increase of VR films? Is there a demand in the industry for VR?
Yeah, so we have made some, I don't have any numbers here, some studies specific to VR. First of all, for short content, I agree. I mean, there is a tend to go in more for the audience to watch more shorter content. We have shown also even with like average of the contents in terms of consumption over the years, there is always a reduction over the years. And actually now we see, I mean, with the platforms, okay, they don't create the short films, but I mean, the series has a big domination, which is still a shorter form compared to feature films. And then now non-film format like YouTube content and all these things, they are also coming more in shorter form. So I think this shows the potential for the short content, which was the argument of QB as well, telling, I mean, people are more open to short content. They consume more content from their mobiles, from small screens. They cannot watch a feature film in mobile. So this all shows the potential for shorter content. For the VR, for us, this is still not clear because we are still a bit like exhibition material, because I mean, people are, once they have special team, museums, special programs, this is still the way of the VR consumption. We don't see still a widespread VR consumption at home level. So this is still a question mark. I mean, for us, I mean, at least from our perspective, we see a lot of interest for VR. I mean, you see, I mean, from festivals, there's a lot of, now the industry is much more open. But once we come to the audience, still there's no like a widespread home usage of VR. And
well, yes, yeah. There's also a cost in order to consume VR films.
Yeah.
So the consumer needs to buy the equipment. Moving on, because actually we have quite a few questions because they're being posed on two different, both on the QA and the chat. Is there a platform that can predict short film success for festivals?
No, not at this moment. But we add, so we don't have festival prediction at this moment for feature films as well. But we expect this to add maybe like in 2-3 as to release that in 2-3 months. So as soon as actually we release this for feature films, it's the same for short content as well, as we analyze all content together. So it might give insights for short content as well for festival predictions. And it's the same thing. I mean, I find this very similar tool as our actor match. So for actor match, we create the DNA of actor, we create DNA of your own content, we look at the match rate. Same thing is with the festival, actually. You create a DNA of the festival and DNA of your content and look at the match.
So then there's a follow-on question is there a potential formula also for a production in the sense of crew, camera, technical material for a short film? So could you actually analyze, I assume the question is, and the person can correct me if I'm wrong, could you also sort of get an answer of who should my director of photography be? What should I use to film on?
For technical equipment, we don't have any work, but for crew, yes. I mean, like actors, you have like some DNA of these crew members as well, again from their previous experience.
Right.
So it's not always having the impact, not all crew matters, but some of them might be strategic, like director of photography, which might show impact on the result of the content.
Mm-hmm. And how does Largo cope with documentaries? Because a documentary, of course, is totally different.
A more difficult, more challenging form of the content in terms of AI analysis. At this stage, we don't work too much with the documentaries. But again, we have like customers coming with the documentaries. They just want to see these story patterns, okay? These genre patterns, age suitability patterns, these character patterns. They just look at that, and then it's up to them how to use this. But then, we don't have any financial forecast impact analysis specific to documentaries.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and another question. Do you have an example as you've been using Largo in analyzing films? Has there been a false forecast, budgetary forecast, up to now?
False by ourselves, by the system?
Yes.
Of course, just this is something to emphasize as well. So AI definitely is not 100% accurate. Because, one thing to note that here, so AI is used in many fields. For example, automatic driving. So automatic driving here, the problem is quite defined, okay? It should detect the humans, cars, roads. This is quite defined, and this is the things, a road is road for everybody. So not somebody else will come to tell this is not road. So then once we provide the information to AI, it can learn from something that there is 100% consensus. Mm-hmm. But once we come to cinema, it's not that way. We don't talk about tangible things. You teach the AI what is the drama. First of all, there is not 100% consensus about what is the drama by human or what's the comedy. So AI learns from that, but not a full consensus of the human, a majority consensus. So it means it learns from this majority consensus, and then it makes its predictions from this majority consensus. That's the block to be like 100% accurate in this system. But the difference is this: it significantly reduces the biases. For example, just to give example for Hollywood, let's say the studio Warner Bros. So Warner Bros. For the financial commercial part, they are 55% accurate in greenlighting correct projects. That means 55% of their films make profits at the end. And then that means they were wrong at 45% cases because they really try to only greenlight the films they really think it will make profit. But so for example, for Warner Bros. Case, once we said if we used our system for their films, all previous films, and then check what our system is telling in terms of these financial forecasts. So they will improve their accuracy like 20%. It will be like 75% accurate instead of 55%. But as you see, still AI in 25% case, AI will be wrong as well. But the only difference, it will be much less wrong than the traditional method.
Okay, and another question. The questions are actually very interesting because it opens up the possibilities of how Largo could be used, and it's the following: a filmmaker has made a short film, but they feel that it has the potential to be turned into a feature film. Could one use Largo to determine whether it is worthwhile expanding on the script, if you like, and would the solution need to read or analyze, if you like, the feature-length script in order to do this, or can it predict based on the short film script? And if it can, what would be the cost?
It can do. Actually, we have customers are coming this way. They have the short film basis. They want to extend to future films. So the way it works, basically the system looks at the basis of this story. So it's not full story, but it has still basic ingredients, basic genome. Then you put also a package. I mean, how much money you will invest in this, what will be the budget, and then potential casting. So with that, it can make a prediction. Then you see, actually, what is the potential in a wider confidence interval. That is a practice that we are applying. In terms of the costs, so we have normally many of our main system is subscription. Basically, people are coming and subscribing, and then they use in regular manner. And then the pricing really differs according to their volume. But still, we have an option with a single in-depth analysis, on-demand analysis, which is 750 euros.
Okay. All right. Okay. And another question from me, I'm not sure if we have any other questions. How does your AI differentiate between cultural nuances? Different countries obviously produce a different type of movie, whether it's humor, drama, the way things are expressed. Therefore, for example, let's talk about Greece. There are comedies which can make, can have 1 million admissions in the theater. How would you use AI to actually analyze a Greek script, but also take into account the essence of a culture and the way something is written?
Yeah, that's something actually we work specifically as well. Actually, we have now a media desk support, to specialize further AI specific to countries. Because for AI, it's easy to go and work in the US because it's a big market. Okay, you learn from a specific type. And coming to Europe is always a challenge, which is actually we have a few other companies in this domain. They have all focused on US. What we did differently, we said, okay, we want to do this in Europe as well. Actually, that's one reason we call it also a democratization tool. So in that regard, we try to study also the countries separately. Mm-hmm. So AI has first of all, a universal learning. Mm-hmm. Okay. If within this universal learning, it finds some signals for different parameters. But then what we do, we go to specific country, what these parameters means in this country. So we try to understand that. Mm-hmm. This is the current process. We have now, I think, like 14 European countries that we are working with producers, including sometimes like small countries like Switzerland, Norway. We can make use of AI to a certain extent. But we are in the process of doing this more and more.
Mm-hmm. So would this actually mean that you upload or feed scripts of movies that have already been made within a specific country? So would you, let's say, in order for the AI to be taught, you would, I don't know, upload 35, 40, 50 scripts of successful movies that have made it in the box office and analyze that?
Yeah, once we go actually to a specific country, we check, how much data we have from this country, how much films, the content, and then we try to augment if we don't have enough. By analyzing, just to tell on that point, we don't put just successful films, we put anything available because AI should learn both aspects, what is successful, what is not successful. Mm-hmm. But indeed, that is both the content from that country as much as possible, and also if you look at financial part, also financial implications of these films inside this country to also understand the dynamics of the audience of this country.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think this has to be our final question. And it's the following. For a person who is not a biologist, in inverted commas, how can a genome be of use for a cinematographer? Can you explain how this functions?
Yeah. Well, the genome, the reason we use the genome word over here, we find like some key elements, like a set of key elements, and then their ranking, how they come together, like a human DNA, we have like certain elements that they come together with certain ordering, and then it means it gives all the features of this person. So we try to create the same thing. Okay, we first found like the attributes that are the most relevant to film, a subset of attributes, which is 1,000 in our current system. So just to give an example, these attributes can be anything. It can be some directors like Tarantino, which is a really important attribute in cinema, or like topic like a war, environment, or it can be the tone of the film, let's say tragedy, etc. So this is a whole mixture of that. But the important thing, these are the attributes that have been most relevant by the audience to the films. After having these attributes, basically, we first teach the system how certain attributes has been correlated with certain films. Mm-hmm. Then it starts to learn, for example, what it means war, for example, let's say it's an attribute, or what it means Tarantino, okay, in a film in terms of style. After it's learning that, so once we put a script, so it finds the relevance of each attributes. Then we get an order of the things. So let's say we get at number 1 war. That means out of these 1,000 elements, war is the most relevant to this film. And then in second, let's say you get environments, and then you have something war in context of environment. Also, you get the relationship of all these attributes with this ranking. So that's why actually, this is like an analogy. We call this genome of the content.
Okay. All right, Sami, thank you very much. We've run out of time, and thanks to everyone for the questions that they have asked. I think it's been very useful and very interesting, definitely. And there's definitely a script to be written about AI writing scripts.
It's not ending here. We shall continue as technology continues to invent himself and ourselves and our scripts and our decisions and maybe our wishes also. I don't know. So we need a break for 10 minutes. Sami, many thanks for your presence. It was better than physical.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate for the invitation and organization. It's great to tell also for the short film makers. We give a big importance. We keep Sophie TV still alive, and then we still invest much more on that also to make the short films more visible to a wide audience. So in that context, also it's great to be in a drama short film festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye to all for 10 minutes.